Villa take on PSG, and the big factor is Villa Park, Unai Emery, big Champions League night or European night. And after the game, he seemed very confident that they might be able to come back. You weren't happy though, because Villa's basically your second team for whatever reason.
I like Villa. I think that third goal was a killer, and it really frustrated me because I just thought you're 2-1 down against arguably the best team in the Champions League this year. Let's just speak about PSG, who were absolutely unbelievable on the night. So electric, and we've all said all season that football's getting a little bit more boring. They are the antidote to that. They've been so exceptional to watch every time they've played, and their wingers were just unbelievable. But I look at Villa and I don't think that their performance was genuinely that bad. I thought John McGinn had a fantastic game. I think it was unfortunate that in the second half Axel Disasi came on, because I thought Matty Cash was actually playing all right. I don't know if it was injury or the fact that he got a booking that he went off. That changed the game a little bit. But I just felt for Villa, you're 2-1 down against a really fantastic team. You're going back to one of the best atmospheres in England. Why are you pushing anyone up? There was no need to push anyone up. There were 3 moments in that game from PSG of pure brilliance. Before the third goal, 2 moments of pure brilliance. Apart from that, I think Villa defended okay. Most of the balls that came in got cleared. They didn't really have any intention of keeping the ball. But at 2-1, they had such a genuine good chance of going through. They should have just completely shut up shop, and I don't understand why they attacked. And I think that third goal is a bit of a killer now, because this PSG team are just lethal.
It was quite similar to actually the PSG game in Paris where Liverpool suffered. Really similar. But Liverpool never did what Villa did a couple of times. Not only that last scenario, but also there's a couple of times where Rashford got on the left, and they ended up with 5 players in the PSG box. And I was sort of thinking, Unai Emery of all managers, encouraging this just didn't really feel right to me, because obviously, like you just said, Villa Park, under the lights, they score early, it's 3-2 or 2-2.
Yeah, well, they're also interesting because you mentioned Unai Emery and kind of like the tactical naivety. The last time that these two managers met was Remontada, when Emery was the PSG manager and Enrique was the Barcelona manager. And Emery showed some tactical naivety at basically ended his time at PSG. And we saw that last night. Emery European competitions is cash money, right? But you're so right, Kim. In the last minute of that game, there was literally no need to concede that goal from Nuno Mendes. The problem with Villa is that I think that their fullbacks are arguably the weakest part of their team. And if you look out wide for PSG, not only have you got Barcola when he starts, but you've got Desiree Doué, you've got Dembele, and you've got Kvaratskhelia who will play out wide. Their fullbacks as well, Nuno Mendes and Hakimi, are 2 of the best fullbacks in the world. So it's almost impossible for Villa to do anything in terms of getting up the pitch. But yeah, Emery showed the naivety there. But I did pick up on what you said as well in terms of the confidence going to Villa Park. Villa have been very, very good there. I don't think they've lost a game at Villa Park since they lost against Arsenal near the beginning of the season, which shows you how confident and how strong they are at home. And under the lights, we've seen some big results this season. They need an early goal in the second leg. They need an early goal in the second leg. But look at this PSG team, like we've all talked about. They are one of the most exciting teams to watch, a breath of fresh air. And if they get a goal, get a sniff in that second leg, it might be too tough for Villa.
I think it's fair to talk about tactical naivety from Emery's point of view, but I do think at half-time they played an almost perfect game plan. The only reason that they weren't 1 goal up is because of a ridiculous goal. Like, let's get it right. And I think there's some blame that can lie at Emery's door, but I think you also have to consider when you're playing against a team like PSG, who have those 3 players up front who are basically all wingers, can all play on both feet and are incredibly quick, and you have a midfield that can pass it around that quickly. It's incredibly easy to get pulled out of shape. It's really, really easy because it's almost impossible to defend. Those wingers are impossible to defend. You always need to double up on them because you don't know what's going to happen. And it's very, very easy to leave massive gaping holes in midfield, which is what happened a lot. Like, they would have the 2 wingers very wide, and then every time they passed it in the middle, there was basically 2 midfielders there lining up for a shot. So I think we can blame Emery, but I think this PSG team just did what they do, which is completely mishmashed the entire game, ruined any game plan that Emery had of keeping stable because of those quality players. And I think at 2-1, you can see a way back for Villa. You can see them scoring an early goal at Villa Park, and you can see them potentially being able to shut PSG out, maybe enough to get into extra time. But I just don't see how you overturn a 2-goal deficit against a team who has that much quality.
I think before we move on to PSG's quality, I think we should also potentially look at how Villa do find a way back into this, because they didn't start with Watkins in that first leg, which I felt made sense. You start Rashford. I thought he had a net positive game where he's picking the ball up. Sometimes he lost the ball, but playing on his own. Sometimes brought players into the game. Sometimes took his fullback or centre back on. Do you think that this time they go brave? Watkins through the middle, Rashford off the left, probably Morgan Rogers off the right, or do you still think they go same game plan as the first leg? Because Kim's absolutely right, by the way. They were basically there and thereabouts after 44 minutes in the first half, and then obviously Doué scores a ridiculous goal. Otherwise, 1-0 to Villa, and you're going, that's a tactical masterclass.
Yeah, the bravery is in the personnel decisions, and why did Asensio not start? Like, I don't understand it. Asensio's, in terms of the move in January, it's gone a lot better than most people expected. Scored so many goals. I get it's against his parent club, but I didn't understand why he didn't start.
I mean, if he scores and he puts PSG out, he's never going back to PSG, by the way.
But at Villa Park, I want to see Asensio start that game. Rashford, let's see. I think Ollie Watkins down the middle has to start. I don't necessarily love his profile as a striker and a big European type, but at Villa Park is different. You want someone who's going to be combative, somebody who's going to play, against cliche, play for the badge. I think he'll do that a little bit more than Marcus Rashford. But it's going to be so tough for them, man. They need to be very, very brave in their approach to this game. But they're playing against the bravest team in Europe, in PSG. They are not going to be deterred at all. And Enrique just gives you the sense of, well, he's talked about it, right? These players all do what I want them to do. And in this post-Galactico era, there seems to be like a freshness around this PSG side. Everyone can follow instruction, despite the fact that Kvaratskhelia, I think, is a superstar. Despite that Dembele was a superstar, maybe heading back to that level. And Barcola and Doué are young emerging talents. They're all willing to do the running, and you need that in an Enrique side. And yeah, I think it's going to be very tough for Villa, despite the fact that they will be brave at Villa Park, because they've showed they have been brave in previous Champions League games this season.
Yeah, I think Kweku's right. I think, look, they're not going to control the ball and they're not going to keep PSG out. So the only way really that you can go into this is by trying to outscore them. That's the only way. With 2 goals behind, that's all you can do, is just play your most attacking team, I think. Because it's worked in the Premier League. It has worked in every single game for the last few months for Villa, which is why they're in the position they were in. They weren't doing so well. They've been on a fantastic run of form, particularly since Rashford and Asensio have come in. And they need to be playing where they have been playing so well. So I think, yeah, all-out attack for Villa, because they can't really rest on their laurels, not too behind.
And then obviously for PSG, I agree with both of you to some extent. I think there's got to be a bit of push and pull. Whereas in the first leg, they were ready to suffer, and they did for long periods. But I just think with PSG, the pace that they move the ball at, like, it's hard to watch and concentrate on where the ball is. Imagine how hard it is to be a centre back or a full back, and it's going left, it's going right. And the problem you've got is if it goes to Dembele, and this is the beauty of these wingers. Obviously, they're brilliant dribblers, but I don't at any point feel like they choose to dribble at the wrong time. They don't just dribble for the sake of dribbling. They wait and wait and wait, and then they'll go, like the Doué goal, he realised he had Rogers against him and said, this is the one I can come inside of. He had Cash quite a few times. I just look at this PSG team and go, like, where is the weakness? Let's dissect this team. Goalkeeper's brilliant in penalty shootouts, good goalkeeper. Fullbacks, you said, are two of the best fullbacks in the world. Yeah. Pacho eats the ground up, by the way. It's a monster. How do you stop this team? When you look at 11, it's ridiculous.
It's tough. I think a team may be more well versed in Champions League football if they went a goal ahead, managed to hang on, or managed to get something out of the game as opposed to being 2 goals down by the end of it. But it's, for a team like Villa who haven't got that much Champions League experience, what Rashford brings it, Asensio brings it, but beyond that, haven't really got it.
But then would you argue Liverpool had a lot of Champions League experience, and PSG, and we said this, I think, in the video that we did on after that game, that was a coming-of-age game for them.
Yeah, but Liverpool was so much worse, I think, if you take both legs into consideration, and almost went through. They went out in the penalty shootout. Like, they were a lot worse than PSG. First leg should have been 2-3 to 3-0 to PSG, but Liverpool, because they are experienced in Champions League, managed to find a way to keep it close. Whereas Villa, I think, played better than Liverpool in Paris, but end up being 3-1 down. That's just that's the lack of experience. That's just the something you need in Champions League that Villa don't have yet. Maybe they get it the more they play in this competition. Arsenal have now seemingly got that. And so, despite the fact that they can make the second leg close, I think this is PSG's to win.
All right, score predictions, Kim.
Really tough. I think a 2-2, and there's no way that PSG don't score, and I think Villa will start well. I think they'll get the first goal, but they're not going to go through.
2-2.
I agree. PSG will get Villa will get the first goal, but PSG will end up winning the game 2-1.
I think PSG win 3-1 again. I think every time I've watched them so far this season, my jaw's been on the floor. Plus, I've just seen here, which I didn't know, but despite already winning the league, PSG have had their game against Nantes at the weekend postponed to give them a better chance of winning the tie. So they're going to be coming into this completely fresh.
Well, that's what we don't do in this country.
Yeah,
we
no,
never
no.
protect our clubs in Champions League
I think that's
football. It's
outrageous.
ridiculous.
I think that's wrong.
I think it makes sense. If you're worried about the coefficient and you want your league to be the best league in the world, you give your teams a better chance of beating the others.
They
I
do
think
it
it's
in
ridiculous.
They do it in Spain. They do it in
I think
France.
it's ridiculous
They
that
do
we
it-
don't do it.
I think it's wrong personally, but I don't know. Listen, let us know in the comments if you think it's wrong, but I think it'll be 3-1 PSG.